कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे रामा राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे रामा राम राम हरे। So, welcoming you all to the class, chapter 8, level 2, 9 p.m. English batch. Let's pay humble obeisances to beautiful deities of Sri Radha Govinda Temple, to Srila Prabhupada, his disciple, His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Guru Maharaj, and our ISKCON Mangalore Temple President, His Grace Namisha Das Prabhu. I also seek blessings and pay obeisances to Aishwarya Mataji as well as to Rashmi Mataji and all my different Shiksha Gurus. नम ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिन इति नामने नाम से सारस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषाय शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे ओम अज्ञान तिमिरांधस्य ज्ञानांजन शलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। श्री चैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवं च श्री रूपम सागर जातम सहगण रघुनाथान्वितम तम सजीवम साद्वैतम सावधूतम परिजन सहितम कृष्ण चैतन्य देवम श्री राधा कृष्ण पादन सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितम च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये पांचकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे रामा राम रामा हरे हरे। Are you able to see the screen changing and can you hear my voice clearly?
Yes, Mataji.
Thank you so much for joining. Deepak Prabhu, Manas Prabhu, Mohini Mataji, Shashikala Mataji, and yeah, Tripti Mataji has not yet joined. So yesterday we have definitely completed two sections. We looked at Krishna, how he answers, all those different terminologies. He explains within few verses everything is done. And then he talks about why it's important to remember Krishna. And now we are going to be completing section 3 and moving on to section 4. In section 3, Krishna will talk to us how we can practice remembering Krishna through meditation. And then he will talk about pure devotional service. He will talk about Mishra Bhakti, pure, Shuddha Bhakti. What is, that? Just a minute, I'll take the call. Paal eduthu amma. Eduthu. Okay, so sorry about that. Actually, my mother called. Uh, so we finished the first two sections. Today we are going to just revise how we will practice remembering Krishna through meditation, and then we will look at pure devotional service, which is through bhakti. Then we will look at comparing the two material and spiritual worlds and supremacy of devotion in attaining the Krishna. So we finished all these in detail. We were at 8.10. We finished Kavim Puranam, the shloka we finished. 8.9, 8.10 also I think we have finished. This is Kavim Puranam, how we can look at Krishna, in so many different ways. And Prayana Kale, we looked at the story. Did we do this? Yeah, we did this. We did this also. So we went through all these. This is where we were. So the practices 10 and 13, before we come to understanding what is practicing yoga in pure bhakti, Krishna explains what is practicing yoga in Mishra Bhakti, where you're not having like pure bhakti, it is mixed with either jnana or karma. It is not pure bhakti. So raising the life air by Ashtanga yoga, to the Agnya chakra. That is one kind of Mishra Bhakti. Continuously chanting Om instead of saying Hare Krishna, Om you're chanting, which is like you're trying to connect with the universe, universal energy. That is also Mishra Bhakti. Then renouncing sense gratification and doing again kind of yoga, which is focusing on giving up your sex life and giving up all sense gratification is also Mishra Bhakti, because pure Bhakti, you don't give up sense gratification totally. What you do is you connect all your senses with Krishna and you enjoy your senses in relation to Krishna. For example, you don't stop listening to music completely. You listen to Krishna's kirtans. You don't stop dancing and say, oh, that's enjoyment. No, you dance for Krishna. You dance to the kirtan. So you don't stop looking at beautiful things. You look at the deities, how beautifully they're decorated. So you will use all your senses for Krishna. So this is when you don't do that, when you simply just restrain your senses, it's called Mishra Yoga. It's called Yoga Mishra Bhakti. It's mixed. And fixing your mind on your heart and seeing the Paramatma in your heart, that is also Mishra Bhakti, because that is not realizing Krishna as a person, in Goloka. It's trying to see the Krishna in your heart as Paramatma and then understanding that this is Krishna. So that is also Bhakti, but it is Yoga Mishra Bhakti. Pure Bhakti is when you're in complete understanding of Krishna as a person and when you're using all your senses for satisfaction of Krishna's senses. So, Rishikesha, what is that? Bhakti Uchyate. What's the shloka? It goes, Anasaktasya Vishayan, I forget now. Rishikesha Sevanam, Bhakti Uchyate. If you use your senses in the seva of Krishna, then that is Bhakti. That becomes pure Bhakti. Here and from text 13, what we have seen is when you think of Krishna while quitting the body, in what ways? Om, or when you think of the impersonal Brahman, or when you think of Krishna, actually all three of them are the same. But then if you're an impersonalist, then where do you go to? You will be merged with the impersonal Brahman. Whereas if you're a devotee, you come to the bhakti platform, then your destination is, there are innumerable Vaikuntha planets. You will go to any of those Vaikuntha planets rather than be part of the impersonal Brahman, which is actually a covering of the spiritual world. Impersonal Brahman is actually just the, transcendental light, which is, or effulgence, which comes from Krishna. So people are just happy, whereas there are beautiful shlokas which clearly show that when people, for example, we have these stories where they travel to meet Krishna, and when they're not satisfied when they just come to the light. Some people are just happy there. That's it. This is energy. This is God. But then those who are really, who have in knowledge, they know that they have to cross that and then reach Krishna. Which is a beautiful song, which I can't remember, one bhajan which says, oh God, when I come to you, Krishna, when I come to you, let me not be, enamored by your effulgence and stay there. I should be able to cross through that whole layers of your effulgence, which is the impersonal Brahman. And I should be able to reach you. I should be able to see you. I want to see you, oh God. I'm not satisfied with the energy and the light and stuff around you. I want to reach you. So that is the highest and the purest form of bhakti. So with that, we come to the conclusion of that section of up to 14, 13. Now from 14 onwards is another section. So let's just quickly see if there's something to which is important in Srila Prabhupada's lectures. Is anybody who is able to quit the body simply by uttering Om will be transferred to the spiritual world. But those who are not personalists, like I told you, they cannot reach spiritual planet. If you're not a personalist, if you're happy to see Krishna as just an energy, then it's fine. You will stay outside, just the border of the spiritual planet, and you will remain there. You will not go inside. And so those who are not personalists, they are placed in that Brahma Jyoti, like I just said. So although you keep your individuality constitutionally, because you don't want any personal form, therefore you stick there. You're just as one of those little shining molecules among all those shining molecules there. You don't go and reach Krishna. So the problem with that kind of merging with Brahma Jyoti is that as souls being, actually Satchidanand, we are also same form as Krishna. We are Sat, Chit and Anand. So in Anand is missing in the Brahma Jyoti. So when Anand is missing, you're not having joy of serving Krishna. You're just Sat and Chit. So then you're missing that component. And so then you ultimately either fall down or you have to make efforts to go up from there. So that's why it is recommended to straight away come to the bhakti platform rather than being stuck in all the impersonal effulgence and other, jnana theories. In Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a verse which says that someone may say that aside from devotees who always seek shelter of Lord's lotus feet, there are those who are not devotees, but they accept different processes. What happens to them? So, in answer in this verse, Krishna, Lord Brahma, and other demigods are saying, "O lotus-eyed Lord, those non-devotees who accept austerities and penances to achieve highest position, and they think they're liberated. Their intelligence is impure because, like we just said, they fall down. So these Sputnik people, the aeronautics, they all they go far, they go to the moon, they go here and there, but then ultimately they have to come back. And even if they go and succeed and build a space planet, it's really artificial. They have to have all these oxygen things and all that. So whereas we can naturally travel all over all the different universes once we become free from the material body. So as long as we are here on this earth, instead of trying all gymnastics to go here and there, if you simply practice to love Krishna, you simply practice, to do different devotional services, then you will be able to attain your own spiritual body and you will know your own nature as, your constitutional position as being servitor of Krishna, being part and parcel of him. And then you will start feeling true pleasure. This is called Krishna consciousness. And then you can actually transfer yourself into this world. You don't need an oxygen mask. You don't need to wear huge, uncomfortable space costumes and have all weird food and go rolling around in the gravity. You don't need all that because you're not in this body. You are, first of all, not the body. And when you chant and you reach to the higher level of Krishna consciousness, you can transfer anywhere and enjoy association with Krishna without any burden of this body, which is actually a jail for us. So now we are starting this section of 8.14 to 16, which is talking about pure bhakti. So we saw Yoga Mishra Bhakti now. Now we're going to see pure bhakti. By constant. Ahaituki apratihata, it's called. Ahaituki apratihata means uninterrupted and continuous. So by constant engagement, 24/7, they're not able to stay for 1 second. What does Shishtashtakam say? Yugayatam nimeshena chakshusham pravrishayatam. So yugayatam nimeshena means even a small millisecond, if you don't remember Krishna, for you it will feel like, my God, how did I not remember Krishna? It feels like, yuga. It feels like a yuga that I did not remember Krishna. That much you cannot live without remembering Krishna. That kind of constant engagement in your mind, enjoying the bliss of remembering Krishna, they will attain, Krishna is saying in these verses, they will definitely attain Krishna's abode and they'll be free from this kuntha, means all these miserable world that we are in, although we sometimes don't agree, this miserable world will become Vaikuntha. Without all these kuntha, we will reach a place where there is no more worries, no anxieties. And 8.14 is where actually the Shuddha Bhakti verses begin. In 8.14, Krishna, let me find the verse. 8.14, Krishna is saying, Ananyachitah satatan yo mam smarati nityashah tasyaham sulabhah partha nityayuktasya yoginah. So this is pure bhakti. How? Constantly remembering Krishna without deviation, and Krishna gives again, how many times he gives us a guarantee? He says that because of this continuous engagement, I'm easy to attain. He gives a promise that you will definitely sulabha. Very easily you'll be able to attain me. Whereas yogas and jnanis and all, they are just, going to be, they don't enter a spiritual planet. They are stuck in the Brahma Jyoti. The devotees are able to reach Krishna himself. So that is the main difference between those who are impersonalists and other Mishra Bhakti and Krishna. So Ananya Cheta, basically Satatam means 24 hours, right? Ananya Cheta Satatam. In Krishna consciousness, we are 24 hours, 100% we are thinking. Yomam Smarati Nityashaha. We are always remembering Krishna. Tasyaham Sulabha Partha. Krishna saying, my dear Partha Arjuna, for him, I'm very cheap. I'm very cheap in the sense that I'm very easily accessible. If you are able to continuously think of Krishna, then Krishna will become easily accessible to you. He promises that. God Krishna is called Ajita. Ajita means actually nobody can conquer him. But for the devotee, he becomes conquered. He allows himself to become conquered by the devotee. So in this in this verse from Brahma Samhita, ज्ञाने प्रयासमुदपास्य नमन्त एव जीवन्ति सन्मुखरितं भवदीयवार्तं स्थाने स्थिता श्रुतिगतं तनुवान् मनोभिर्प्राप्ययेन अजितोऽप्यजितोऽप्य asitastrilokyam. So what is this verse saying? Those even while remaining situated in the established social positions throw away the process of speculative knowledge, and then with their body, words, and mind, they offer all respects to descriptions of your personality and activities, dedicate their life to these narrations, which are vibrated by you personally and by your pure devotees. Such a person, what kind of a person? Who have reached some high social position. You will see that all these great ISKCON devotees, most of them are either IITians or Aishwarya Mataji, by the way, the teacher who teaches me Bhakti Shastri, she's a gynecologist. She's a not just a normal MBBS. She has completed her MBBS and she has specialized in gynecology. So she is, so advanced, but then she's given up all that. She goes to the I think she does practice a little, but she spends from early morning. She's into the temple. You will find her in the Mangalarti every day at 4:30 with her little son. She's a small son also. It's called Jagannath. And you can find how, you just, when once you get this knowledge, then it's so beautiful. You don't engage with materialistic things anymore. You dedicate your life for the vibrations of which, Krishna has created. What are the vibrations? Bhagavad Gita, the Srimad Bhagavatam, these are all vibrations of the Lord himself. And then what happens? You become, then when you personally do that, you become a pure devotee and you conquer Krishna himself. So although Krishna is otherwise unconquerable by the three worlds, Ajito Apijito, even though you are unconquerable, still Brahma is saying that he becomes conquerable to a devotee. So there are all these different verses which will explain the devotional service. Devotional service, as you know, is a descending process, Aro and Avro. It's not the ascending process where you struggle on your own and say, I don't need a guru. I don't need to listen to on my own, I can meditate and realize God. There are people like that who will on their own struggle, but the best way is the descending process where you accept the scriptures, accept the word of the guru, and then you are, being, and then such a person, Krishna becomes merciful. He says in the chapter 10 that he will give them the knowledge, whatever is needed. You don't need to struggle to get the knowledge. Simply by sitting and chanting, the descending process will come. You'll just have to have association of devotees, chant regularly, follow the principles, and you will find that Krishna will reveal the knowledge. It's called the descending process. You don't struggle, no ascension. Then in this verse, Bhagavad Gita, we have where Krishna says, Arjuna is saying, I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, only the tip of the toe of whose lotus feet is approached by yogis who aspire, alter the transcendental and betake themselves to pranayama by drilling the respiration, or by the jnanis who try to find out non-differentiated Brahman. So what is this verse saying? He's talking about how the devotee, pure devotee is able to constantly keep his mind on the lotus feet of Krishna. That's the reason why we put the tilak on the forehead with that small tail down on the nose, which is indicating that our forehead is always at the lotus feet. We are drawing the lotus feet, toe of Krishna, and we are drawing the tulsi, which is always there at serving Krishna's feet. We're drawing that tulsi also. And that is how we are constantly trying to keep in our mind the lotus feet of the Lord. So we'll move to the next verse. In 8.15, Krishna is saying, Mamupetya punarjanma dukhalayam shashvatam napnuvanti mahatmanaha samsiddhim paramangataha. So this verse is very, very important. Why is it important? Because it says that Mamupetya Punarjanma Dukhalayam Ashashvatam. Dukhalayam is Ashashvatam is a word which we all need to focus on. What does Dukhalayam mean? Full of miseries. So Krishna is saying that when he's saying that those who are great souls, who are pure devotees, they come to me, they attain me. And then after they attain me, they don't have to return to this world. And how does Krishna describe this world? He says it's temporary, number one. What is temporary? Ashashvatam. And then he says it's full of miseries. Dukkhalayam. Like how we have Vidyalaya, Chikitsalaya, like that. This whole earth is referred to by Krishna himself as a Dukkhalaya. No? Because they have attained the highest perfection. Why is it Dukkhalayam? Because here we are bound. We are not realizing we are bound by our karmas, by our gunas. Gunas and karmas bind us. The gunas which we usually keep our mental state in, and every karma that we do, which is not a karma, which is, either to get some good or doing something which is not correct, you will be bound by those karmas. So you will be stuck in this temporary world full of miseries unless you work towards escaping. So Krishna says that anyone who comes to me, of course, Krishna is everywhere. He has got his abode. The difference is Krishna and ordinary human being is that we can remain at one place. But Krishna, Goloka eva nivasati akhilatma bhuta. Although he is actually in Goloka, he is equally, that's why he's God. And we cannot imagine that. Although he is personally always in Goloka, the company of all his confidantes, his sakhis and everyone all the time playing the flute, and he's in bliss and enjoying with them. And he's inviting us to join him in the party. But in spite of being located there, he is actually everywhere. And on the earth, he is there in the Vrindavan. It's called the Bhauma Vrindavan. So Krishna's presence, the Radharani's presence is always there on earth as well in this place. And then even though they are in these places, they are also at the same time pervading all the atoms inside everyone's heart. So all this is difficult for us to understand because we have material senses which are limited. So these facilities are utilized for becoming a Mahatma or for entering the kingdom of Krishna. So if you always remain in Krishna consciousness, that is in pure bhakti, that is the highest perfection. In 8.16, Krishna is saying, this is also a very important verse. He says, Brahma bhuvana lokaha punaravartino arjuna mamupetya tupante ya punarjanma na vidyate. So what is he saying? Brahma bhuvana loka. Means from Brahma Loka, which is the highest planet in the material world. From the highest planet in the material world, Bhuvana Loka, to the lowest, Krishna is saying that all these are places of misery. And there will be birth and death. Even Brahma has a birth and has a death. Although his birth will not be like us. We are born out of, a conjugal relation of our parents, and then we are born from the womb of our mother. Brahma is not born like that, right? Brahma is born from the lotus which comes from the navel of Vishnu. There's no need for a Lakshmi or anyone in that, for Brahma to be born. He's just straight away he's born. So these are things which we don't understand, and some people, therefore, they will just mythology. But, that is for those people who want to be a frog in the well kind of, people who don't want to look at the possibilities and how scriptures are true. So, what is Krishna saying? Heaven at war, hell is just pain, and earth is where we have to keep coming back to. So, even if we do all pious activities and go to the heavens, we have to ultimately have birth and death again. So we're not really free. So we have all these different pictures depicting how we have to keep coming back to this material world. Ah, Brahma Bhuvana Loka. This is a depiction of all these 14 worlds. The one universe is divided into 14 divisions. We are in the middle planetary system. You can see Bhur Loka, that is the earth. We are right in the middle. 7 up, 7 down. So we are in the middle. And Krishna says, Ah Brahma Bhuvana Loka. What to speak of the moon planet, sun planet, Venus, wherever you go, there is birth and death. So, when we talk about birth and death, even of demigods and Brahma, we can't actually see them. Why? Because they don't, their bodies are material, but they don't have, such gross material bodies. They have more subtle. That's why we cannot see all these devis and devatas which are there, and they are in the higher planetary systems. In the lower planetary systems, you will find more of the evil people, or the, basically the non-believers. So we should be very serious about when we understand that, this whole material world from Brahmaloka, all the heavenly planets, which we do good things and we go there, they're all temporary. And it is our duty to not only ourselves try to escape and come to this, come to the platform of getting back to Godhead, but we should try to get as many people into the same thing. न ते विदुस्वार्थगतिं हि विष्णुं दुराशया ये बहिरर्थमानिनः अन्धा यथान्धये नृपणीयमानास्तेऽपि शतन्त्र्या मूलधां निबद्धाः. What does it mean? That people who are strongly entrapped by consciousness of enjoying material life. Which are the people who can't? Why are people not sitting on the Bhagavad Gita classes? Because they are so attached to material enjoyment that they cannot bear to continuously hear chant, chant, chant. Because chanting will make you automatically detached. And it is actually why do you detach from all the material sense pleasures? Because you are now enjoying higher pleasure. That's what they're not understanding. They're feeling, oh my God, if I have to, become Krishna conscious, I have to give up all these. No, you don't. You're actually going to be getting a much greater joy. It's like, the marshmallow. If any of you know about the marshmallow experiment, which was done in Stanford University, they actually gave marshmallows to a small, age little children, and they said, marshmallows are kind of a sweet, very, delicious, rubbery kind of a chewy sweet. And they gave all students one, and they said those who will, and the teacher said, I'm going to go out for some time, and there was a camera there. When I come back, if you still haven't eaten the marshmallow, if you're able to control yourself, then you will get one more marshmallow. And then again, he says, again, if you do it, you're going to get something even more special, like maybe a pastry or something, greater, something which is more fun to eat. And then they found out that almost 95% or above students, they were not able to control. So the camera shows very beautifully, how children are struggling in their mind, whether to eat, whether not to eat. They're putting their hands closed and they take it away, and they're all kind of people. But only 1% of them actually don't eat. They sit very strongly determined and they don't eat it. And then when the teacher comes back, those children are the ones who get one more marshmallow. And again, if they're able to control, they get something bigger. So similarly, this is an experiment which is done. And then, those children who have not eaten, after 15 years, they have tracked the lives of those people, and they have reached higher positions in the leadership rung of either their own companies or someone's companies, but they are very high in the leadership rung. Right? So they have actually found out that those who are able to restrain themselves, they are able to have higher pleasures. Just like that, if somebody is enjoying material life and trying to go after it, they're actually missing out on the joy of going back to Godhead. Unless we try to develop love for Krishna, and then initially it won't be so pleasurable, but slowly you will find that the pleasure of, being in constant pure devotional service by chanting and doing other services, always seeking of Krishna, that is much, much more joyful than any material pleasure. So, what is happening in the material world? As blind men guided by another blind man miss the right path and fall into a ditch, that is the same way that materially attached people, the so called teachers, our so called parents who have no idea about what is actually the Bhagavad Gita's teachings and how we're supposed to go back to Godhead, in this life. They don't know. So, they are blind. What are they doing? Our teachers, our parents who don't have this knowledge, they will guide us into go work harder, go do this, go do that. They will force you to do different things, which they say is good for you, but actually true goodness lies in realizing yourself, right? That is the most important thing. So that is missed out by all those materially attached people who are, teaching the same thing to more and more the next generation. That's a sad part. Now we're coming to the next section where Krishna will. So we have understood everybody. I hope you have followed that. We have understood pure devotional service very beautifully from 8.14 to 8.16. And now Krishna is going to compare the two spiritual and material, the two worlds, spiritual and material worlds. And then he's going to explain the glories. Why? Because it's an advertisement. He is trying to attract us to his spiritual abode. So he's saying material world, is continuously created and destroyed. Although when we look around, nothing seems to be changing. Actually, everything is continuously changing. Time is a destroyer. There's nothing, including our own cells, our body, that slowly deteriorating. Everything is being destroyed slowly. And eventually, the whole thing will get into the body of Vishnu, including Brahma, and everyone will go into the merge with the body of Vishnu when the night comes. When the spiritual night is very, very huge. And again, when it is time, everything will come out and start exactly from where they were. So it's continuously being, it's a very horrible cycle which we are trapped in. If you can imagine a little mouse who is there locked in a cage, and it's got those steps which is like a cycle, and he keeps thinking, I'm running out of the cage, but actually it's just a cycle going round and round. And he's trapped inside that. We are exactly like that. We are trapped in the material world. We don't even realize. So we should be so grateful to Srila Prabhupada and Amrita Das Prabhu, who has made us open our eyes and understand that we are actually trapped here. There's continuously just creation and destruction in every level, from the smallest level to the hugest level. It's just the same. Beyond this ocean of creation and destruction, what is there? This is the ray of hope in the Gita. There is Krishna, and he is present, and you can attain him through unalloyed devotional service. In 8.17, Krishna is saying, Sahasra Yuga Paryantam Aharyat Brahmano Viduh Ratrim Yuga Sahasrantam Deho Ratra Vidho Jana. 8.17, Krishna is saying, by human calculation, 1,000 ages together forms one day of Brahma. And so also is the night. At the beginning of Brahma's day, he creates all the living entities which become manifest from unmanifest state. Are they created new? No. They were just merged with Vishnu's body during the night time. And then again they come out and they become manifest. When the night falls, again they become unmanifest. So again and again, the Brahma's day and night comes. All these things are helplessly, we are moving in. Other than our own birth and death, we are actually going through another huge level of cycle of birth, entering into Brahma and entering into unmanifested state and then coming back to manifest. And then again we create more karma, more gunas, and then we be in this very horrible cycle, and we are just not even able to understand. So, but my dear Arjuna, beyond this place, sometimes it's appearing, sometimes it's disappearing, this place. And beyond this, there is another nature. So what is Krishna saying in 10.42? He says, Ekam Shina Sito Jagat. So he's saying that, don't, consider it something small. He says it is Ek Amshena, with a small fraction of myself. The whole material world is controlled by me. Krishna is so powerful, we cannot even imagine. He is all knowing. He knows each of our thoughts, each, full awareness. And it's not like, suppose he's in me, he's now thinking of, in my, presence, and he's observing my thoughts. That means he's not observing any of you. No, he's constantly observing all the millions of human beings and animals and everything all together. Every moment he is observing. And and in the whole material world, all this, he does with a small fraction of who he is. He's pervading. It's huge. Otherwise, the 3/4 part of manifestation is actually beyond this material world. It's in the spiritual sky. So here from this, we get the information that parastasmat bhava anyah. Bhava means a nature, another nature. Just like you have got experience of this material nature, similarly, there is a spiritual nature. Krishna is telling us. And so long as we are trapped in this body, within this matter, The body is moving. But as soon as the soul, that is we ourselves, move out, then the body becomes, like a stone, literally. As soon as the soul comes out, you would have seen, if I used to have a pet cat, and then the cat, died, the whole body was stiff. It becomes stiff. So you can perceive here within yourself what is matter, what is spirit. We're able to experience it. It's not possible to understand this by experimental knowledge. You have to, the soul can never be understood by doing experiments. In Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela, it says, Ata Shri Krishna Namadi Nabhavi Trahyam Indriyaha Sevonmukhe Jihvado Swayameva Spuratyadaha. It's a very important verse again, from Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's also in we studied in the Bhakti Shastri class. Ata Shri Krishna Namadi, all the names of Krishna, Na Bhave Grahyam Indriya. We cannot get, understand with our senses unless we continuously chant the Lord's name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Unless by hook or crook we don't do this chanting, we will be going on in the cycle. And material senses cannot appreciate the holy name. We are not understanding that is holy name form. The moment you talk about Krishna's pastimes, they're all transcendental. And then when you constantly engage in this, the conditioned soul will be awakened to Krishna consciousness. And then you start using your tongue to chant the holy names. You only taste prasadam. Your tongue will get purified. Sevon mukhi jivvado. Jivva means tongue. When you actually consider your tongue and use it only for chanting and not for gossip, use it only to eat prasadam, then you will be actually able to swayam eva spuratyadaha. By itself, the knowledge will be revealed. It's very amazing. It's also in Bhakti Rasamrita. The knowledge will be revealed. Everything that you want to know about Krishna, about karma, about dharma, about everything, you will come to know simply if you use your tongue to do only two things: chant the Lord's name and eat prasadam. So, if you take up this Krishna consciousness, you will understand and all your problems will be solved. In the next verse, Krishna is saying, Parastasmat bhavonyo vyakto vyaktat sanatanaha yasya sarveshu bhuteshu nashyatsu na vinashyati. So what she's saying, there is yet another nature, therefore. 8.20 is speaking very clearly that there is an eternal, world. It's transcendental. Transcendental means above this whole manifested, unmanifested matter. Such a boring thing is going on and on in cycles. Then we're stuck and we not even realizing it. And Krishna is telling us, look, don't think that this is where you belong. Actually, you belong to spiritual world, and he's saying that how it is. It's supreme. That is the one world which never gets annihilated. When all gets annihilated, the spiritual world is always still there. So Krishna is pointing out that nature, this material nature, it has beginning and end. But in spiritual nature, there is no beginning nor end. It's eternal. And there's an example which is given. You can see a simple example. In the sky, in some insignificant part of the sky, there is some cloud. When there is a cloud or snowfall, we see everything is covered. But that covering is only an insignificant part of the whole sky. Similarly, the material sky is within the covering of Mahat Tattva matter. So when you start studying Srimad Bhagavatam, you will see Mahat Tattva, very clearly explained. It's basically a covering of the whole material sky. And as this cloud, when it's clear, the original sky you can see, but when the covering is there, you can't see. So we get this birth of this body, we stay here, we grow, we produce byproducts, which will produce children, and then we dwindle, and ultimately we vanish. This is what's going to happen. There are 6 transformations which happen in everybody's life, and at the end we are vanquished. So Krishna says, Parastasmat bhavo anyo vyakto vyaktat sanatanaha. Beyond this vanquishing cloud, there is another superior nature. Right? And just like cloud, when it is vanquished, when it is annihilated, the sky remains. Similarly, the spiritual sky will remain there. Material covering is just needs to be vanquished by devotional service. This is called Ghatakasha, Utakasha. So this is another important verse from Narada Pancharatra. Aradhito yadi haris tapas tapas satatah kim naradito yadah harish tapas tapasatatah kim. So this is a very interesting verse, If aradhito yadi hari, if you're constantly chanting, constantly remembering Krishna, Tapasya tata kim? What is the need for you to do some severe austerities? There is no need to do. Na aradito yadi hari. And if you're not, not at all praising the Lord, no, you're not even doing tapasya tata kim. For him, what is the use of austerity? Because he's not even thinking of the Lord. If one worships Krishna and considers Krishna as the goal of life, then you will find out eventually there'll be no need to execute severe types of austerity, right? Because now you're purified. And if after executing all kinds of tapasya, suppose you work very hard, you do so much tapasya, still you don't reach Krishna, then what is the value of such a tapasya? It's a wasted labor. Everything is supposed to lead us to Krishna because that is the aim. And all people are just trying to make this train journey, their compartment, they're beautifying, they're trying to make it great, whereas it's not where we belong. So the aim of human life should be such that we are always chanting and trying to reach back to Krishna. And in verse 21, Krishna says, Avyakto akshara ityukta tamahu paramangatim yam prapya nanivartante tadhama paramam. Again, he's continuing to describe his spiritual world. He says, Aksharam is where there is no annihilation. In the material world, everything is born. Then you have to go through 6 process called Shad Vikara. You're born, you grow a little, and then you grow a little more, then you produce children, then you grow old, and then you die. But the spiritual world is Avyakta, not manifested at the present moment. That is Aksharam, which means it is eternal. Right? This is what this verse means. Then this is an example verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, which tells us that Bhakti parishanubhavo viraktiranyatra chaishatrika ekakalaha prapadyamana sayatashnatasyu satashyu stushti prishti shudapar yunudhasam. So what does it mean? Devotion, direct experience of Supreme Lord, and detachment from all other things. These 3 things will occur simultaneously. You don't have to worry. The moment you start chanting, detachment will happen automatically. You will start feeling that direct experience of Krishna. These will happen simultaneously. Just as the same way that pleasure, nourishment, and relief from hunger happens together. You're eating your food, you're enjoying the joy, then you're getting relief from the hunger, and also you're creating the path to getting nourished. In Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela, it is Sthana Bhilashi Tapasi. Sthanaభిलाषी तपसि स्थितोऽहं त्वां प्राप्तवान् देवमुनीन्द्र गुह्यं काचं विचिन्वन् अपि दिव्यरत्नं स्वामिन्द्रितार्थोऽस्मि वरन्न याचे. So when he was being blessed by Supreme Personality of Godhead, this is what Dhruva is saying. What he's saying, oh Lord, because I was seeking, what was Dhruva seeking? All of you must surely know the story of Dhruva. Dhruva was, taunted by his stepmother, and he goes into the forest and he does different penances. So he says, I was performing severe types of penance and austerity. And Krishna appears in front of him, and then he says, now I realize a stupid thing that I was asking. I was asking for a whole kingdom bigger than my great-grandfather, which is bigger than even Brahma's. And actually, I was asking for something like a piece of glass, which is so, looking plain compared to a diamond, most valuable jewel. So I've been so stupid asking for the material things. So Bhagavad Gita also says, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma. Again, a very important verse which everyone can learn. Na shochati na kankshati sama sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labhate param. Mad bhaktim labhate param. You will get my bhakti, which is the highest. Param means highest. And all yogis, among all the different yogis, a person who is always seeking of Krishna with great faith, worshipping him in transcendental loving service, such a person is united with Krishna in yoga. He attained the highest, thing for which all these different people are doing all sorts of funny meditations, and they're sitting and meditating on nothing and trying to raise their consciousness and all that. And then what is happening? They choose a longer path, whereas there's a simple, short way. How can you attain that state of bhakti? Simply not by speculating, not by, trying to find out. You have to simply do bhakti and have faith in the process. Srila Prabhupada has given us a process. Chant 16, follow regulated principles, read his books, associate with good people. And this will help you even in your material life. You follow all this. So if you're going to be follow this, that is all that is needed for you to achieve Krishna. So This is about the pure bhakti. Now let's look at 8.22. 8.22 is saying Purusha Sapara Partha Bhaktya Labhyasvananyaya Yasyantasthani Bhutani Yena Sarvamidam Tatam. What's the translation? The translation is Supreme Personality of God is greater than all, is attainable by unalloyed devotion. You can attain Krishna. Although he is present in his abode, he is all pervading. This part we have been discussing. Just like the sun, sunshine is spread all over. But then sun has a personalized place. Similarly, Krishna's energy is there everywhere, but Krishna has a spiritual world. So this is what I was saying. Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchate, that serving your senses for the pleasure of the Lord is what is bhakti. Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadhanabhitam anukulyena krishnanushilanam bhakti uttama. What is the uttam bhakti? What is the highest, purest form of bhakti? Anukulyena krishnana sevanam. You're using your everything, your senses, your belongings for Krishna. Anyabhilashita shunyam. This I always have been repeating in almost all my classes, having absolutely zero. Shunyam in Hindi means, in Hindi also we say shunya, which means zero. Anyabhilashita. Any other abhilasha except for getting Krishna. In verse 7.16 of Bhagavad Gita, we see Chaturvidha bhajante mam jana sukritanurjuna artho jigyasudartharthi jnani cha bharatarshava. So what are the four kinds of people? Chaturvidha bhajante, who actually worship Krishna. They are, ones who are having any pains, artho jignasu, those who are very curious, those who want lots of money, or those who, the fourth kind of persons, those who are very inquisitive, or those who are searching for knowledge. So just as if there is electric energy, you can light up any lamp. Similarly, if you are progress, if you are advanced, then we can see God everywhere. We will skip out some of these. What is the description of spiritual world that Krishna is giving in these verses? First of all, Krishna's abode is non-different from him. The whole abode is Krishna himself. And he is free from birth and death. Krishna doesn't have birth, nor does he have death. Although on the earth he does all these leelas, he has got that arrow coming and hitting his toe, and then he leaves this world at that point of time. So all these things are there, but Krishna is not actually taking. In fact, we are also not taking birth. We are actually eternal souls, part and parcel of Krishna. Krishna is also infallible. Infallible is his superior energy is opposite to material energy in quality. And Krishna is opposed to the material world, which is full of miseries. And he's trying to guide us to unlimited bliss. And he actually fulfills all our desires, provided we have the enough sukriti to do that. And this is a description of spiritual world. In the spiritual world, whatever you think of, your desires will be fulfilled. The spiritual world is all attractive. And you cannot see it, with our mundane eyes. Transcendental to manifest and unmanifest. And it is a supreme destination of every human being. It's a place of no return. Sadly, nobody discusses it. Very sad. This is the last section. I'll quickly finish. I have 5 minutes more, I guess, 10. So this is from verses 23 to 28. It's now going to declare how devotion is actually supreme. And attaining that supreme, you can do through using mystic yoga. Supremacy of bhakti in attaining Krishna. Yatra kale tvanavrittim avrittim chaiva yoginaha prayata yantitam kalam vakshyami bharatarishabha. Oh, best of Bharatas. I'm going to now tell you how different times people pass away and what is the result of that. Those who know Supreme Brahman attain the Supreme by passing away from the world during the influence of the fiery God in the light at an auspicious moment of the day, the fortnight of the waxing moon, 6 months when the sun is traveling to north. These are all different, automatically it works like that. Those who deserve to go and come back, they will be following this kind of path when their soul leaves the body. The mystic who passes away during the smoke, the night and all that, he will have to come back. He reaches up to the moon and then he comes back. So we are looking at the moon and the photographs with a material camera. All we can see is rocks and sand and everything. But actually, it's a whole developed place. The moon is a whole developed place. People go there, souls go there, they reside there. They have different bodies when they go there. They come out of this very gross material body that we have on earth. They're able to go to those places. There's a whole world there, the moon. We don't know that. According to Vedic opinion, there are two ways of passing. Some go in the darkness and then some go in the light. Those who go in the light, they actually don't have to return. So, how are the bodies, people leaving? Yogis and Jnanis, they try to go in the light and merge with the Brahma Jyoti. Karma Kandis, they are mostly in the mode of darkness and then they're doing good things. They just want to do good things. And so, what will they do? They'll go to the heavenly planets and enjoy longer lives and more pleasures, sense pleasures. But then after that, they have to come back. It's not permanent. So, it's not real because it's not permanent. Whereas a devotee, he will be all the time. When does he, whenever he passes, his soul passes a body, it can be any time. It doesn't matter because he's a devotee. Krishna gives a guarantee that you will attain Krishna Loka once you are chanting. You will definitely enter. And 8.27 is saying, and in the last two verses, Naite sruti partha jnanam yogi mukhyati karshana tasmat sarveshu karmeshu yoga yukto bhava Arjuna. What is it saying? It's saying that although the devotee knows that this is a path, he will never try. Okay, now is a good time. I want to die at this. He won't try. He doesn't feel the need, and therefore he is always fixed in devotion. And person is fixed in devotion, it doesn't matter what he's doing, no, because he is in the highest level of yoga. Person who accepts the path of devotional service is not bereft of results derived from studying. Suppose you are somebody who studied all the Vedas, you performed so many sacrifices, you gave charity, and all that is equal to bhakti. That's what this last verse is saying. So with that, we come to the conclusion of the class. We have seen all these sections and it's exactly 10. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I hope I covered the chapter relatively. That we come to the conclusion of the class. We have seen all these sections. Sorry, the YouTube started playing on its own. All right. So anybody would like to share something? Warm welcome to Tripti Mataji also. Deepak Prabhu is asking for the attendance again. I don't know if Krishna Prabhu, who used to post in our group? There was one devotee who used to post the attendance in the group. Krishna, I will once again, give it to Krishna Kumar Prabhuji. He said yesterday he's marking the attendance and I'm sending him a screenshot. So please, I'll just take a screenshot of the participant and send it to him. All of you would like to, can you just share with me if you're willing to shift to the batch which comes on, say, Wednesday, Thursday? Let me find out exactly. But any other 2 weekdays other than Monday, Tuesday, same time. I will let you know. And if you're fine with that, you could join. Not next class. Next class, chapter 9, I will do. After that, maybe you will have to merge with another group and you can learn from Linith Prabhu. Linith Prabhu is a teacher there.
So you will not be there, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji. Actually, I'm planning to, I don't know, Krishna willing, I'm planning to attend Monday to Friday, all 5 days, 8 o'clock to 9:30 Bhakti Vaibhav Srimad Bhagavatam classes. I don't know how far I'll
Okay.
do that, but if I cannot do that if I'm doing these classes because that is everyday class.
Okay.
Actually want to study the Bhagavatam a little faster. I'm right now doing the Bhakti Vaibhav on every Thursday, but it's going really slow. So they
Correct, correct.
have opened a fast track course. So it
Uh-huh.
starts December 1st.
Okay, okay, Mataji.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw that, messages coming as well. Whoever was chanting 16 rounds can connect to this and all that. But they said you need your, uh,
You finish off the level 3, all the certificates, which you can easily just go to the website and just keep on answering the questions. And you can, as soon as you finish that, all set of questions, you will automatically get the certificate.
okay. So where do we get those questions and all that,
It's
Mataji?
all on the website. You just have to go to that ISKCON Mangaluru website, and there are so many courses which are open there. Maybe
Okay.
next week, Monday, I'll just open that website and show you, and you can just click on them. And you can, if you've already done level 1, you finished level 1 and you got the level 1 certificate, you use the same, place. You go to the same place and you continue to level 2 and you answer all the quizzes there.
Yeah, the
But
problem is that also level 1, I don't know where we completed it, which was that link. So like this only in the class, they had provided that link before.
ah,
So we used that same link and we did that. So that is where I was thinking, because they had given that option for those people who want to join on this day and all that.
yeah.
Then after that, we did not have your class, no? So I was just thinking I'll connect with you and then check and then take it. Yeah.
You send me a message, I'll send you somebody who has got these technical help thing, and you can
Okay.
actually not very difficult at all. You can,
Okay, Mataji.
it's a simple process. You just need to get a hang of how to enroll yourself in the website, and then you can move from level to level by answering the quizzes. And you
Okay.
get certificates of all of them.
Okay.
Finish.
Okay.
Yeah. All the quizzes of one level are over. Within 2-3 days, you can finish, the level.
Okay. Okay. Okay, Mataji. Fine.
Thank you so much, all of you,
Thank
for
you.
joining. We will do chapter 9 coming week, Monday, and Tuesday, we will try to finish chapter 9.
Sure, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you so much. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.